you came heavy with the ketamine at 250.
Yep.
Because you can, right?
Yep. I didn't want you to remember that.
No,
I was hoping you would get some amnestic effect from it because you would just regain consciousness, and hopefully it wouldn't have been like implanted and memorized. But
no, it's that probably, I don't know, 10, 20 seconds right there. It's there, and it's
wow.
The biggest thing is just that CPR felt so violent. It was just like, I can't describe it. It just felt like I was being crushed by something or being pummeled by somebody,
sure.
And it's like, and it's one of those things where it's like if you feel like you're in a fight and you can't get away from the person because it's coming at you so much. And it's hard to kind of comprehend at the time.
And is he in a perfusing rhythm at this point?
Yeah.
So you had shocked him out, shocked and drugged him out. He'd had some epi at this point. Had he had his antiarrhythmics at this point?
He did.
So he had 300 of amio, couple rounds of epi, and he gets shocked out, or he gets drugged out of into a perfusing rhythm, out of the VFib.
I'll be honest, I don't actually remember.
But you're waking up. You have a perfusing.
I would say he was shocked out.
Shocked out.
So
I think we shocked him one more time, and that's when it.
The third one.
Yeah.
6
total.
6 total defibs.
Oh,
so
geez.
1 in the department, 1 in the day room.
In the day room.
Then got you loaded into the back of the ambulance. 1 there, IO, epi. Did another defib. Then I asked for bicarb. Gave you some bicarb.
Oh, you did that pretty early. Mm-hmm.
I am a fan of early bicarb.
I am too now.
Yeah. He's like, I don't know the science behind it, but I like it.
Yes.
I'm actually against bicarb if we're talking generally as a medication. I don't like to give it for a lot of the reasons, but in this case, I think bicarb is worthwhile. One would argue, given the witness arrest, it probably wasn't indicated, but for my thought processes behind it is you are dead. By definition of being dead, you're acidotic. If you're acidotic, our medications don't work so well. So let's try to change that physiology just a little bit to have our medications work a little bit better.
Absolutely.
So you got bicarb, shocked again, and then we finally kind of hit our rhythm as a team of what I typically do is the first 2 rounds are going to be epi, bicarb, calcium, pulse check. Epi, bicarb, calcium, pulse check. That's what I typically do. And that's when we hit the next pulse check, epi, bicarb, calcium. Shocked again, same thing. We're at 360 joules at that point. You convert and then go right back into. So at that point, I asked for 300 milligrams of amiodarone, which was given. And
I drew up all the meds.
All
I
of
didn't
it.
give the meds.
You were the med guy.
I drew up all the meds in compressions and bagged.
So amio was given. I'm thinking, great. Refractory VFib, we're going to give her antiarrhythmic. We're going to shock him, it's going to be fixed. Shocked, still not fixed. And I had this thought in my head, I'm like, crap, are we still shocking at 200? So I check, nope.
We're at 360.
We're at 360, so the monitor's configured correctly. It's supposed to do increasing energy. And then my butt, honestly, I've not even told you this yet. My butt puckered at that point. So I'm thinking, can't cuss.
I'm running out of plays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've given everything I can. I've given all the right medications that I'm supposed to give. I've gone above and beyond. We've literally thrown the kitchen sink at you. And despite all the best efforts, you're still VFib arrest. Now, your best chances of survival for anyone are going to be witness arrest, instantaneous CPR, and in this case, defib plus medications. Absolute best way. I'm like, I have to get you back. So at that point, we had left the station. We were turning on 14, lights and sirens going all the way down to the hospital. Shock you one more time. You went back in, you normal sinus, still worried, and then you woke up.
I thought you were about to say, this is when I smacked you across the face, grabbed you and said, Freddie, live, Freddie, live. And this is by the
Did my best
power of you just
pre-recorded
brought me
thoughts.
back. But yeah, that would have been a little more exciting. But
It would have been.
either way, I'm very happy with it. So
When I tell the story in the bar next time, I'll make sure I
Yeah.
add that in.
not today, Grim Reaper, not today.
So that's why Howie got his black eye.
So you stayed at the station for quite some time getting all this stuff
did.
done in the truck. So you're in the truck at the station,
Yep.
working really hard, and then about the time you got going because you were running out of plays to make.
Well, as they've trained and as we've taught, you're going to work them in the field, right?
Correct.
There's nothing more that honestly that we had at the hospital that we didn't
He's
have
making
with
my
you.
point. Thank you.
So we were working him when we should. You are still a VFib arrest. We should still always transport you, but we're going to work you. We're going to establish your airway. We're going to establish IO access. We're going to give you the medications. We're going to work you appropriately. And then when it's appropriate, we're going to start rolling. And that's what we did. Exactly as you're supposed to do. Not because of me, I was there, but because they're trained well. They're
Right.
professional firefighter.
By you. The he was still in VFib for a bit once you left, or he had converted.
Nope, he was in VFib while we were on
as
the
we were just
we
starting to pull
left.
out.
Yep,
Yeah.
And we checked his sugar.
we did.
Sugar was fine.
That was not the cause.
So you went through the H's and T's. All right.
Oh my. I'm bad.
150 of amio.
More ammo.
More ammo.
Trick question.
I
I apologize.
Gave the
You
300
knew-
already, and then second dose 150.
150.
That makes,
450 total in EMS.
No
care.
one judge me, please.
Hey, that's why it's all written down.
That's right.
Right? You don't think we look stuff up too? I don't know.
I still
I
part of
know
it.
the guy that, and I'm like thinking,
I know the guy
like,
that writes it, and I
minute.
still look stuff up.
yeah, you're going, wait a minute, we gave everything, though.
We gave
yeah,
everything.
second
Yeah,
dose
wait,
of
the second
ammo. That's
Yeah,
right.
Second dose. So you're about ready to call for the second 150. Counter shock, and then he starts waking up.
Yep.
Starts waking up. 250 of ketamine. How's he tolerate the ketamine?
Very well.
Very well. Likes the ketamine. Right.
Never done any sort of recreational drug in my life or anything like that, except for alcohol. So apparently my body was like, oh, what's this stuff?
Hey, this
is,
stuff is like
this is good
PCP.
stuff.
This is good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So he likes that, and the rest of the trip to the
So we then call report. I have them hand me the phone so I can give report.
and what's the transport time from your station to? I assume you went
it's
to
like 10 minutes.
Portage, but 10-minute ride.
So I call.
You called.
I called.
This yeah.
Of course.
I want to pull this recording. Hey, it's Dr. Hill.
Yeah.
What?
So it's one of our UH quarterbacks that answers the phone.
Yeah.
I go, hi, it's Dr. Hill. It's like, why? What's going on? I'm like, I have a VFib arrest with Ross.
Yeah.
We're coming in.
Yeah.
Just activate a STEMI team. What? Okay.
just yeah.
And then they call back. Can you send me an EKG? No.
Doctor's on scene.
Yeah.
Just light the lab up, please. The doctor's already seen the EKG.
I then get a text message from my colleague that's at work. Can you send me an EKG? I'm a little busy right now. VFib arrest with Ross.
Yeah.
I need a cath lab. Please and thank you.
So that brings up another good point. Did he get a 12 lead?
Yes.
Post arrest 12 lead and post Ross 12 lead on the ride up there.
Yes. I want to say yes.
So you know you
Maybe.
and did you?
Maybe we didn't. It was a rough ride.
Oh, I bet. Infarct patterns, ischemic changes, everything. Or what was as you recall, what was the general synopsis?
It was definitely a post-ROSC EKG, but not a STEMI.
But not a STEMI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks a little funky,
Sure.
but not a STEMI. But with VFib arrest with Ross, the assumption is that there's going to be a vascular problem, so we want to get you to the cath lab.
Of course.
There's some new data saying that we don't necessarily have to nowadays, but
You were going.
you were
You, you were going to the
over
lab.
your or my dead body.
Yeah, right.
You were going.
After his episode of Pucker Factor, he's like, oh no. He's
I don't think there wasn't anything that I wasn't put through. I mean, the level of care, it seems, was just incredible.
Wow.
Amazing. I mean, from everything I can remember,
Yeah.
everything my family members have told me,
Sure.
everything, coworkers have told me. I mean, I don't think there's a test or a check or something that they did not do once I came through those doors.
And what is, after the meds, after you're reperfused, when do you start remembering things? When does...
So this happened Monday
you wake
around
up? Yeah.
noon. After waking up in the back of the squad for a couple seconds, I
Yeah.
don't remember anything until late Wednesday.
Late Wednesday.
And that's even very foggy.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm told stories about my family about things that I did while I was still
Sure.
out of it and don't remember doing.
Sure.
Yeah, it's that whole week is pretty foggy, being in the ICU all week, because one day kind of bleeds into another, and it's kind of like, was that yesterday or was that 2 days ago that this happened?
Yeah.
It was just
Likewise, I'm sure he was getting some sedatives or something in the... I mean, you look at the entire clinical course. I mean,
Yeah, he got repeat ketamine in the emergency department, and then went to cath lab,
Yep.
had his cath, and then afterwards, obviously, my care is over. But
So, yeah. What...
you were intubated for the first day, I believe.
Yes,
And then
yeah,
we
about-
extubated you the next morning.
yeah, about 20 hours.
I remember you
think.
telling me that he had been extubated the following day.
Yeah, I think it was about 20 hours I was intubated.
Which is very normal.
They said after looking at the heart cath, I had no blockages. The valves all looked like everything was functioning
Wow.
properly. And they really could not say definitively what caused it, per se.
Just
They think
the quintessential sudden cardiac arrest.
I've heard from the couple of the doctors now after going to a couple of follow-ups.
Yeah.
My resting heart rate's been in the 50s for a couple of years now. I get a physical through work every year.
Of course.
I get my own physical.
Sure.
My 12 lead's always normal, but it's in the 50s. And nobody has ever said good, bad, or otherwise about it.
Right.
So they think I may have just Brady'd down and stopped perfusing, and that was it. So
No new foods, meds, nothing that day.
No,
It was
no.
just
nothing different, nothing out of the
just a
normal.
regular day.
Just a regular run review.
Just a regular run review and regular day.
Day started off like any other day.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's just-
So you already kind of led into your personal pucker factor when you threw the kitchen sink at him, and he's like, "Yeah,
Not doing what he's supposed to
I'm
do."
not having it." What was you acknowledge, you were nervous, shaking a little bit, drawing up the meds. How are the rest of your colleagues? I mean, was this, we just put game face on and went to work, or was there some glancing around like, oh my God, we're...
At first, when we were in the day room,
Yeah,
everybody's looking around, they're like, what's going on? And then,
is this really
oh,
happening?
someone just stop calling me. Okay, sorry. I just got distracted there. No, we were in the day room.
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of looking around, and then kind of noticed what was going on. I just went to work. And then just continued on.
And so back of the truck, there wasn't any discussion like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening or anything like that. It was just poker.
There was, come on, Freddie.
Yeah.
Okay, Freddie.
Yeah.
Let's go, Freddie. That's essentially what everybody's saying. That's probably in their head they're thinking it.
Right. No, I can imagine. I
But,
just wonder if anybody verbalized it. If they're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening.
I think Lieutenant
this
Moss did.
This is going down. Yeah.
I think he was like, I can't believe this happened.
Yeah.
And then, but we're just working.
Yeah, it's a crazy heavy lift emotionally. It's
I couldn't imagine. I mean, doing
Right.
it. I've been on calls where I've known people on calls,
sure.
people I went to school with
Yeah.
or were friends. But I couldn't believe, I don't know how I'd react being one of my fire family. You
Exactly.
know, spend more time with these guys than do my own family.
Your own family,
I mean,
right.
we all know this.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, that would definitely be. I don't know. I mean, I would hope I'd react as well as they did.
Yeah.
But you don't know until something like that happens.
Until you're pressed,
and,
yeah.
and you hope it never does, and you don't hear about it happening often. It really doesn't. I actually had a firefighter from Boston area reach out to me after he saw my story and say, "Hey, the same thing happened to me. Glad you're doing better. Here's my story." And he sent me a link to his story on it, and it's like kind of similar in a way, but I think he's a little older than I am, and it's just you don't hear about it that often in the fire service, having to work on one of your own.
Sure. And that brings up another point. Is this was just at the firehouse. I mean, we weren't even on a scene or anything like that. This easily could have been you in turnout gear with an SCBA on,
Absolutely.
or anybody, right? And that brings in a whole nother, a whole nother realm of complexity in that. And you guys, we were talking before we stepped in here. I mean, you guys drill on that.
Oh, yeah, every year.
You practice on exactly that, and this is one of those cases where it was just a regular day.
Yeah.
there wasn't, really not even a story, right? It was
No, it's not like we were out doing anything physical or
right.
anything crazy. It was just there was no outside forces that acted upon
Yeah.
it. It just happened.
But
we do train. We do down firefighter CPR every year. That's one of our trainings, and how to get everybody out of the gear and start CPR on them, and who's doing what depending on what position they're in, just like any other
Right.
EMS training.
right. How'd your family find out? I mean,
Captain went down and notified my parents that live in town.
okay. He stopped there. He
yeah,
physically went there.
Yeah, I think he went after the call. I guess it went down, or did somebody else go?
Lieutenant Chapel.
The Chapel, okay. Lieutenant Chapel went and got my wife. He had her phone number. He tried calling her. Gave her number to the chief.
Yeah.
The chief initially tried calling her. She's at work. Her phone's going off, and she can't answer it while she's working. So she'd look at her watch and be like, I don't know that number. Who's calling me? And why are they calling me 2 and 3 times?
Right,
And then,
exactly.
And then finally, Lieutenant Chapel, who's been a friend of mine since we got hired together,
Sure.
he knew where she worked, called her business, and said, I need to talk to Keitha. It's an emergency.
Yeah.
And they got a hold of her and said, she actually tells me a story that, the girls tell me that there's a Mark Chappell on the phone for you. And she's like, he's just probably calling. She works at a vet office. He's probably calling about one of his dogs because he brings his dogs here. He's probably wanting to get in, for something. And
He's trying to ask for a favor, sneak a dog in.
Something. And the girl said, no, it's something important. You need to take the phone. Yeah. And she said that, he came on and explained to her that what happened.
Yeah.
And that they were doing CPR on me. And she just said that everything just kind of went white and just narrowed down. And luckily, he was able to go and pick her up and drive her to the hospital.
Okay, good.
So, and then I don't know how a lot of the other people were notified.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure my parents
firefighter
calling. Yeah, I mean, it's just. Yeah, it's. But apparently, before I knew it, I mean, they were just. It seems like hundreds of people knew. I mean, it was just. I wish I could remember a little bit more of those first 2 days, in a way. But people told me there was people in the waiting room, constantly coming in and out.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming.
I can imagine. That's wow.
Because it's not supposed to happen, right?
No. And then my guys always joke that everybody knows Freddie, man. You can't go anywhere without running into somebody.
Somebody knows you.
I mean, they constantly joke about this. I mean, one of my buddies took me out to lunch the other day to a place in Mogador I've never been, and two of the shift guys that were there came down to meet, and my one big buddy is like, you can't take him anywhere. Literally, we sat down, and a guy walks by, and he's like, hey, Chris. And I'm like, hey, Adam, how's it going? Literally, they look at me. They're like, you've never been here before, and you know somebody here?
Somebody, yeah.
Today, I went out for the day with a buddy of mine to do some stuff, and same thing. We stopped in somewhere for lunch, and person comes up and is like, Chris, and I look, and it's my Spanish teacher from high school, and she's like, oh my gosh, I heard about what happened, and wanted to give me a hug, and this is somebody I haven't seen in 30 years,
sure, yeah.
And it's just, I've had people reach out, not only just friends, but people in the community that have sent me letters and stuff like that I don't know who these people are. And they'll just leave a note or something. Oh, you transported a family member 10 years ago.
Years ago, right.
And we remembered you. When we saw your name, we're like, I remember him. He was here for Dad, or he was here for Mom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you remember that? It's pretty incredible.
So they remember because that's the worst day of their life.
Correct.
True.
It's a normal day for us, right?
Yeah.
Big hulking guy comes bursting through the door like, what is going on here? And they're like, oh my gosh,
He scooped me up and carried me out to the ambulance.
He had this cape, and I'm like, what? I don't know.
So that's really incredible. There's been that much community.
phenomenal.
outpour,
Yeah.
for you. And that's really cool.
Very.
That's really cool. So, cath was clean. They extubate you the next day or so. Did you wind up with a AICD pacemaker or anything like that?
Yeah, defib pacemaker. They put that in the following Monday, and it was actually at first they said when I was kind of out of it, I was telling them I didn't want it. And then drugs talking.
Yeah.
And they were said I was concerned about going back to work and
Right.
what I could do
Sure.
and that. And I mean, now I'm like, yeah, but I was after a while, I'm like, put the thing in. I don't want,
Can I get two?
please, whatever you can do, yeah, put a second one in case the
can I get a
first one
backup?
fails,
Yeah.
But yeah, they did that on Monday. It was a very, very kind of cool procedure in a way.
How so?
Just you're awake the whole time.
Right.
They put you on this table 5 foot in the air. It's like an 18-inch wide table, and the Dr. Sotolongo was very just matter of fact, down to earth. This is what we're doing. I could kind of see part of the monitor they did the screen they did it on. The nurse that was giving me meds, and we were all talking, and he's like, "How do you feel? You feeling okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "All right." Gives me lidocaine. He's like, "I'm going to give you a second round of lidocaine, and could you feel that?" I go, "Just a little bit." And he's, "Oh, give him a little bit more." And then he's, asking me questions, make sure I'm still with it the whole time.
Sure.
Telling me I'm going to make the incision now. I'm placing the leads. That's all good. Everything looks good. I'm going to connect them. Opening up the pocket in the muscle to put it in. And the whole time, him and the nurses are just like, "Hey, what are you doing next weekend?" And the whole time, and he's doing this, talking to me, and I'm talking to them, and he's telling stories, and he kind of asked me about if I was comfortable enough laying on the board, and I go, "Yeah." He goes, "I know what it's like to have some fractured ribs. I've been there before." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm perfectly comfortable." And then he went into this partial story about how he fractured his ribs, but he kind of stopped. Then he started doing something else, and I'm like, "Doc," I go, "Wait, you got to tell the rest of the
Finish
story
the story.
there,
Right.
And then the nurse was like, "Yeah, Doc, you got to tell the rest of the story now." And then he completes telling the story, and it's kind of comical, and it was just very like laid back, like, "Yeah, we do 5-7 of these a day."
Yeah,
and,
that's just
and it's just modern medicine has just
routine,
come
yeah.
so far, and the team was just so like, "Yep, he's going to want this next and this is what we're doing." And the whole time they were telling me what was going on, and it was like, I found it fascinating. I mean, and it's just amazing how far medicine has progressed just in the 30 years I've been, EMS-wise,
Sure.
and what's going on. And it was just, I found it just very interesting when it happened. Now that I can look back on it.